Today we're going to learn about one of the most intriguing works ever painted, and we'll learn the strange story behind it. This painting harbours a secret that's been sitting in broad daylight and yet remained invisible to almost everyone. And here's the point. When you discover the key to that secret, it opens a whole new world of meaning, not just for the painting, but for everyday life. Let's go inside and take a look at it. This painting is called Die Schachspieler, which is German for the chess players. I like the more descriptive title, Satan playing at chess with man for his soul. Satan, chess, and a mystery as old as the ages. But before we go there, let's explore the fascinating life of Paul Morphy. One of the oldest games in history is the classic game of chess. Historians trace the game back 1,500 years, and today there are still 700 million people who play it. Possibly the greatest chess master of all time is Paul Charles Morphy. At the tender age of 12, he played the Hungarian national chess champion and beat him. When he turned 21, he travelled to Paris and he played 8 games against French champions simultaneously. He won 6 games and he drew 2. Now here's the astonishing part of the story. During all 8 games, he was blindfolded. Morphy memorised every move, and he had the mental picture of each board in his mind for the 10 hours it took to finish all 8 games. I'll tell you the intriguing end to the Morphy story a little later. But first, what does it take to be a chess champion? Well, clearly intelligence and patience and a very good memory. But could there be another factor? This book contains the adventure of the retired Cullerman. It's where Sherlock Holmes solves a murder case by proving that a man called Amberley was the killer. When asked by Watson how he knew Amberley was the murderer, Sherlock Holmes said, "It's elementary, my dear Watson. The clue? Amberley excelled at chess, a mark, Watson, of a scheming mind." Now here's the question. Who has the most cunning, scheming mind of all time? I'll give you a hint. The artist has put him here right into this painting, and he's playing for your soul. Let's take a look. The artist of Die Schachspieler was a German named Friedrich Moritz August Retsch. Retsch was nominated as the Professor of Painting at the Royal Academy of Dresden in 1824. Those who knew him said he was a rare genius. His specialty was psychological drama with a theme of spiritual conflict. In this painting, the chessboard is placed on top of a coffin. The meaning? This is a life and death matter. The devil is perched on one side and he's seated on his evil throne. The claws of the lion beside him are on the head of a skull, a previous victim and a symbol of death. We can see Satan here resplendent in a folded green cape and red feathered cap. The red rooster feather is an ancient symbol of cunning and malice. The devil's grotesque chess pieces, they represent his kingdom. The king is his own conniving image. His queen, a voluptuous female representing illicit pleasure. The 6 offices of Satan are 6 vices: indolence, anger, pride, falsehood, avarice, and unbelief. The pawns are dangerous, deadly doubts. The young man on the other side, he's Satan's opponent. Now, when researching this painting, I discovered his 6 main pieces represent peace, hope, love, innocence, humility, and truth. His pawns are the people who are praying for him. It's a perfect contrast, forming total conflict. So let's come to the action. The devil is in a winning position, and everyone knows it. You can see the devil's won a lot more white pieces than the man has black ones. In fact, some experts have retitled this painting Checkmate. The devil looks absolutely arrogant, while the young man and even this onlooking angel, they are looking extremely anxious. This game of chess is mirrored by this approaching spider, ready to spin a web to ensnare his victim. Again, this painting shows the scheming devices of the devil as he captures his enemy. Let me share with you what this painting says to me. You and I are in a hand-to-hand fight with the devil. This is not just a chess game. This is war, and the prize is our soul. The devil in this painting is not a fun-loving cartoon character with horns, tail, and a pitchfork prompting us to have a little naughty, harmless fun. In contrast, the artist represents the devil as strong, patient, tenacious, cunning. He knows our weaknesses inside out. He gets this idea directly from the Bible, which states, "Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour." So what is the devil's master strategy? What are his tactics, his maneuvers, his schemes? In summary, the devil will pull every lever to make sin look good and God look bad. We have here a painting with the title The Deceiver. It's by the Australian artist Phil Mackay. And as you can see, Phil has brilliantly captured the surly, determined look in the eyes of this evil mastermind. His arms are crossed. He's looking directly ahead, and through his satanic smirk, you can just imagine him planning his personal attack on the viewer. So how does he do it? Firstly, the devil concentrates on your weaknesses. World chess champion Viswanathan Anand, he gave this advice to budding young players. Looking for that chink in the armour, you need to sometimes play unpleasant moves, pushing your rival into a position he hates to be in. And with that, look for signs of weakening. The devil also looks for signs of weakening. His aim is to turn that chink in our armour or weakness into a habit, and then a habit into an addiction. In fact, he'd rather have you have one addiction than 1,000 weaknesses, because he feels that if he can get you addicted to something, he has a strong hold that makes you his for life. Secondly, the devil thinks ahead. The average chess player thinks one move at a time. That would be me. A good chess player thinks 4 or 5 moves ahead, but a great one can think up to 20 moves ahead. The devil is patient, and he tempts us in stages. If I can get him to do this, then he'll do that. If he does that, then this is where he'll end up, and I've got him. Recently, my wife and I went to Belgium. Now, just say I'm trying to lose some weight, and I know Belgium is renowned for the world's best chocolates. What should I do? I think to myself, I'll drive into town, but not stop near the chocolate shop. Then I saw a chocolate shop. I'll walk straight past this shop, but I'll not look into the window. I then thought, well, I'll look into the window, but no matter how good they look, I'll not go inside the shop. They look good. So I'll go into the shop, but not buy any chocolates. I'll look at one, but not buy it. I'll buy it, but not unwrap it. I'll unwrap it, but not smell it. I'll smell it, but not eat it. Well, I think you know where I end up. Eat, 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 eat. It's easy to relate to, isn't it? It's no wonder the Bible calls the devil the old serpent. This scheming, slithery snake is clever and crafty. He not only sneaks up on you, he thinks ahead. Another tactic of the devil is to influence us to make choices based on feelings. As the saying goes, if it feels good, yes, you know, do it. But whether it's what we eat, drink, smoke, or who we sleep with, how we drive, or how we spend our money, we've all learned in one way or another that what might feel good in the moment can come back and bite us, sometimes with tragic results. Another strategic move is to blur the lines between good and bad. Have you ever seen the Herman grid? Here you have black and white squares like a chessboard. But what else can you see? Grey dots. The devil loves to turn black and white into grey. In other words, through media and social influences, moral issues become a matter of preference, not truth. One of the most effective tactics is to create doubt in the Bible. Listen, if the devil can destroy our faith in this book, or even have us accept some parts, but not all of it, then he's ticked a huge box. Why? Because without the Bible, it's impossible to know what's right and what's wrong. And once we've lost sight of right and wrong, what have we got? You know, rat poison is nearly all wholesome grain and only 1 or 2% poison. All the devil needs to do is to create a little doubt, and we start the slippery slope towards the moral confusion prevalent in our society today. So how does the devil make a good God look bad? Firstly, he blames God for pain and suffering. Remember going down to the National Gallery of Victoria, and hanging high on one of the walls was a painting that I found quite distressing. Here it is here. August Schenk entitled this work, Anguish. Here we see a distraught, despairing ewe who is bellowing in anguish as she attempts to protect her dying lamb from the mob-like circle of cruel crows. Is this a reflection of Rudyard Kipling's Law of the Jungle? Or did the artist use animals to symbolise the broader human condition of our inhumanity towards pain-stricken humanity? I know this much. The devil wants us to look at a painting such as this and blame God for his lack of interest in the well-being of those he created. If God is a God of love, why does he allow innocent lambs and children to suffer and die? But pain, suffering, evil, it doesn't come from God. Rather, evil comes from evil. And you know who the prince of evil is, don't you? That's right, it's the devil. And he is sowing immense pain, one life at a time. Another tactic the devil has perfected is to condemn and discourage us. Satan uses the old carrot and stick scheme. He puts the carrot out in front of us through temptation. And then when we take the bite, he beats us with the stick. Do evil, and you'll not only enjoy it, you'll thrive, he says. But once we've done the wrong thing, he then tells us we're beyond redemption. Now, neither idea is correct. Remember, the God in the Bible isn't austere. He's our loving Father, a Father who welcomes us home, even after we've done wrong. In fact, that's the whole story of the Bible from beginning to end. That's the whole point. Satan also does whatever he can to stop us from seeing God in his beauty. How? By cramming into our life so much activity that we neglect to talk to God in prayer and learn about God from the Bible. Recently, I analysed some research which indicated that 80% of Christians seldom read the Bible. In the language of chess, you'd have to call that check, if not checkmate. But let's come over to the other side of the chessboard. What are the keys to defeating the devil and winning at this chess game for our soul? Well, I know one thing. We need to take evil seriously. Oscar Wilde said, "The best way to deal with temptation is to yield to it." Now, that's a clever quip, but Wilde himself reached out to God for forgiveness on his deathbed. Why? Because it seems that we all crave salvation outside of ourselves. And we all know the path to salvation is through forgiveness and reconciliation, not giving in to temptation. After all, we know evil hurts us, but it also hurts the one who loves us the most. And we'll look at that shortly. So how do we resist temptation? The Bible provides a very clear answer. Therefore, submit to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. In summary, we run to God, not the devil, and we resist the devil, not God. I believe there are 3 key moves we need to make to win the game of life. Firstly, we need to believe the truth. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's a cliche. What do you mean? The great battle between Christ and Satan, it's not a battle of power. It's a battle of truth. The devil tells you that you're worthless. The truth is, you're a child of God who is of infinite value. This is a painting by Vincent van Gogh of his father's open Bible. I remember a man once telling me that he'd counted over 3,000 promises in the Bible. There are so many powerful promises of truth, we could never exhaust them. You know, when the devil comes to me, I verbally state and claim the promises of God. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now unto him who can keep me from falling. Now thanks be to God who always causes us to triumph in Christ. Now unto him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that I ask or think, according to the power that works in us. Secondly, we need to accept the invitation of Jesus to be his personal friend. And we become his friend as we spend quality time with him, reading the Bible and talking to him in prayer. In the Rijksmuseum is a famous painting called the Love Letter. In this painting, we see a messenger delivering the letter. The seal on the back is yet to be opened. Anticipation and tension, it's in the air. Who's this letter from? What will it say? Her heart begins to flutter. All eyes are on this letter as it's handed over to the young lady. As I've visited museums around the world, I've noticed scores of paintings featuring the reading of love letters. Why? Well, I guess everyone enjoys love letters. I know my wife certainly does. And the Bible is God's eternal love letter to us. It tells us how much he loves us and why. The way to become a friend of Christ is to read his love letter. And having Jesus as our closest friend not only gives us the strength to overcome evil, it also gives us the motivation to overcome evil. Let me illustrate. I want you to imagine that you're listening to the news and you hear a report of a man dying in Kazakhstan from a bicycle accident. Now, you'd probably think, well, that's sad, but it's hardly relevant to me. I wonder why the newscast included that story. But how would you feel if you saw a report of a car accident? You notice the car all smashed, a crumpled heap. As you look closer, you realise this is the car of your son or daughter, or your mother or father. The reporter says, the ambulance crew has just retrieved the body from the car. There was no hope of survival. How do you feel now? Completely shattered. What's made the difference? The closer you are to the person, the more hurt you feel. That's simply part of our human nature. When you are close to Jesus, the story of his death will hurt you to the very core. You see, Jesus didn't just die in a traffic accident. Our best friend was killed on a cross. Let me share with you a further illustration. Some years back, I spotted an article in a Sydney newspaper that was reporting an accident in a British museum. A man tripped down some stairs and he smashed some vases into 1,000,000 pieces. The report said, he was still sitting there stunned when staff appeared. Everyone stood around in silence as if in shock. Then the man started talking. He kept pointing to his shoelace and saying, there it is, that's the culprit. Now just imagine if he then stood up and thought, oh well, too bad. They're probably junk anyway. I'll just pay for them and they can buy a new set. Well, I guess he'd feel a bit embarrassed, but not too upset. But imagine how bad he felt when he realised they were 300-year-old Qing vases. They were the best-known artefacts in the museum. How do you think he'd feel then? Totally sick. What made the difference? He understood the cost of what he'd done. Christ wasn't killed by the Romans. Sure, they did the deed, but the cost of sin is the death of Jesus. When we realise the true cost, the devil and sin will become hateful to us. The next important thing to remember is this. When we run to Jesus for help, make sure we keep our eyes focused on him, not on the temptation we're struggling with. I want you to imagine in your mind a lemon. Now think of cutting this lemon, opening your mouth and squeezing the juice in. You got it? Now I want you to stop thinking about the lemon. Whatever you do right now, do not think about that lemon. What are we thinking about? The lemon. In the Christian life, we sometimes get so caught up in thinking, I must overcome my sins. And all we think about is the addictions and sins we need to stop instead of Jesus, our Saviour. We need to fill our minds with Jesus every day and focus on him. In fact, all of us can learn a good lesson from my dog Cyrus. If there's one thing my dog Cyrus loves, it's great big bones. Especially ones like this.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah, thank you.
If there's one thing Cyrus understands, it's this. The best way to overcome temptation is to take your eyes off the temptation and look into the face of your master. The Bible says, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith.
Now, of course, this is just an illustration. So I think I should give it to him. What do you think? Okay, Saros, where you go.
Now let's come back to Paul Morphy. Remember him? He was the world chess champion who played all those games blindfolded. In the American Chess Magazine of 1898, Robert Munford wrote a story about Paul Morphy, who was visiting the home of a friend. As he was ushered into the library, he noticed a painting, this painting, over the mantel. The owner of the home told Morphy that he often set up the chessboard and he looked at the hopeless position of the young man. Well, Morphy went up to this painting and he studied it for several minutes. He then turned to his friend and he said this, "I can win this game for the young man. Get out your chessboard and I'll show you." So everything was set up. And in a few short moves, Morphy defeated the devil for the young man. You see, the real checkmate was against the devil, yet no one had realised it. That was Friedrich Moritz August Retsch's secret message in the painting. And it remained secret for a long time until the right person came along. That's the genius of this painting and the beautiful reality of our life. We may think we're in a hand-to-hand battle with Satan and we're in a hopeless situation. It's checkmate. We might as well give up. You know what? You're right. We should give up. Get out of our chair and let the master champion take our place. You see, it's the evil king who's in checkmate, but most of us wouldn't be able to take advantage of the devil's weak position. We need the chess master to sit in for us. And we've got one waiting to do that for us right now. His name is Jesus Christ, and he's offering to win our victory today. Jesus will beat the devil every time, even if he's blindfolded. All we need to do is ask him to take our place and let him make the moves for us. Now that's a checkmate I can appreciate. How about you?